He was the man with the muscles, the bandana, and the loudest voice in the arena. He was the face of wrestling for millions across the world. But now that voice has gone silent. Hulk Hogan, the man who once slammed giants in front of roaring crowds, was laid to rest in a private funeral in Clearwater, Florida. No media, no crowd, no bright lights, just a small group of people saying goodbye to a giant of a man in total silence. For someone so big, the farewell was unbelievably quiet. And that's what shocked the world. Why did someone as legendary as Hulk Hogan choose to leave without a big goodbye? What really happened in those final moments? This wasn't just a funeral, it was the closing of a chapter we thought would never end. On the morning of August 3rd, a few close friends and family members gathered in a small cemetery in Clearwater. The exact location wasn't made public until after the burial. Hulk Hogan, whose real name was Terry Eugene Bollea, was buried with no media coverage, no speeches, no WWE banners, just peace. The people who were there said that was exactly how he wanted it. No cameras, no show, just a man being buried, not a brand. One of his close friends revealed that Hogan had planned it years ago. One said, "When I go, don't make a circus out of it. Just let me go in peace." And his family respected that wish. Hogan had been struggling with health issues for a long time. Although he appeared strong in public, those close to him knew he had heart problems that were getting worse. He kept most of it private, still making appearances, still smiling for fans, but his body was tired. In his final days, he spent time with his children, watched the ocean from his Florida home, and listened to his favorite old songs. According to his daughter Brooke, he seemed at peace. In an emotional Instagram post, she wrote, "He was not just my father. He was my hero, my teacher, my best friend. Told me to stay strong, but this... this breaks me."
Hogan,
Son didn't speak publicly, but those who saw him at the funeral said he was deeply affected. A neighbor saw the family return home after the burial and said they looked heartbroken. This wasn't just losing a celebrity, they lost their father. Even close friends like Jimmy Hart stayed silent during the days following the funeral, respecting Hogan's final wish for privacy. It wasn't easy for fans to accept. For decades, Hulk Hogan was everywhere. TV, posters, movies, commercials. He was loud, proud, and full of energy. Seeing him leave quietly felt confusing. One fan wrote online, "A childhood hero gone in. Silence. That hurts." But this decision reflected something deeper. Hogan wasn't just a character in the ring. He was also a man who had made mistakes, fought personal battles, and tried to make peace with his life. In recent years, he stayed away from controversy, focused on family, and slowly stepped away from the spotlight. A close friend said he wasn't chasing fame anymore. He just wanted peace. His funeral reflected that. Simple, quiet, and real. Tributes still poured in after the news broke. Ric Flair called him the champion of champions. But The Rock tweeted, "No one lit up a crowd like you. Thank you for showing us the way." Even Vince McMahon released a short message saying Hulk Hogan wasn't perfect, but he was unforgettable. These weren't just empty words. For many in the wrestling world, Hogan was the reason they got into the business. He brought energy, drama, and excitement. His catchphrases became part of pop culture. His matches were legendary. And even though the world of wrestling has changed, many still agree that without Hulk Hogan, there would be no WWE as we know it. But Hogan's life wasn't just victories and belts. He faced lawsuits, public backlash, and difficult personal situations. At times, his image took a hit. But in his final years, he tried to rebuild what mattered most: his relationship with his children, his peace of mind, and his role outside of fame. He wasn't trying to be Hulk Hogan 24/7 anymore. He wanted to be Terry Bollea, the father, the friend, the man. And those around him said he succeeded. The last service was held at a small local church. No cameras, just prayers. A pastor who had counseled Hogan in hard times led the service. He later said he asked us not to talk about the wrestler. He wanted to be remembered as a man who tried to do better. When you look at how other celebrities are remembered, it's hard not to compare. Michael Jackson had a global farewell. Muhammad Ali had world leaders at his funeral. But Hulk Hogan didn't want that. His goodbye was more like Bruce Lee's: private, respectful, and away from noise. That silence said more than any speech could. It showed that behind the flashy clothes and powerful poses, there was a man who just wanted to rest. His story is full of highs and lows. He made people laugh, cheer, cry, sometimes disappointed them. But he also gave his life to something bigger than himself. And in the end, he asked for nothing in return. Hogan's passing leaves a gap in the hearts of millions. For kids in the 80s and 90s, he was a superhero. For young wrestlers today, he's a symbol of what's possible. One of them, Cody Rhodes, said in an interview, "He taught us how to dream big, act bold, and give fans a show they'll never forget. Even now, his impact is felt. A youth center is being planned in Tampa under his name, a place for kids to stay out of trouble and learn confidence." His daughter said this was his final wish, wanted to give something real to the next generation. During the funeral, his signature red bandana and yellow boots were placed beside the casket. No flashy robe, no spotlight, just a symbol of who he was. A quiet reminder of a loud life. The wrestling ring will never be the same without him. The energy, the roar of the crowd, the "what you're gonna do, brother," those moments are now memories. But powerful ones. Ones that shaped lives. And even though his voice is gone, his presence remains, even after the burial. Fans continue to gather outside the WWE headquarters, holding candles, posters, and wearing Hulk Hogan merchandise. It's their way of showing respect, even if they weren't invited to the actual funeral. One fan from Georgia said, "He was like a father figure to us kids growing up. He taught us strength, courage, and loyalty. I had to come and pay my respects, even if it's just standing outside the building he once walked into." These small gestures show that Hogan wasn't just a wrestler. He was a cultural icon. He was the kind of star that reached far beyond. The ring touched people on a personal level. News outlets around the world covered his death. But the reactions weren't just from wrestling fans. Actors, athletes, and musicians posted their own memories. Sylvester Stallone wrote, "He was larger than life on screen and in person. Rest in peace, champ," Mike Tyson tweeted. "The ring will never be the same. Thank you for everything." These messages prove how wide Hogan's influence was. He wasn't just part of wrestling, he was part of the world's memory of the 80s and 90s. His look, his voice, and his message are part of pop culture history. Behind all the fame and performances, Hogan's greatest impact might be in the way he brought people together. He crossed generations. Fathers who watched him in the 80s introduced him to their sons. Families sat together to watch his matches. He became a symbol of shared experiences. One fan said, "My dad and I didn't have much in common, but we both loved Hulk Hogan. He gave us something to connect over." That kind of emotional connection is rare. Not every celebrity leaves behind that kind of bond. Even now, discussions continue about honoring him in a bigger way. Some fans are calling for a national Hulk Hogan Day. Others want a statue built outside WrestleMania headquarters. We has hinted at planning a tribute show in his memory. While Hogan may have asked for a quiet funeral, fans are making sure his legacy isn't buried with him. They want to celebrate him, remember him, and make sure his story is passed on to future generations. Because too many, he wasn't just an entertainer. He was an example of how to stand tall when the world tries to bring you down. So now that Hulk Hogan has been laid to rest, a bigger question rises. How do we remember him? Do we focus on his mistakes or the millions of smiles he brought? Do we see the wrestler or the man behind the muscles? And maybe more importantly, what do we choose to learn from him? Can we find strength the way he found it? Can we find peace at the end of our journeys just like he did? In many ways, his story is not just about wrestling. It's about second chances, about changing paths, about making peace with the past. It's about how even the loudest voices may one day choose silence. And that silence, if respected, can be the most powerful message of all. Hogan taught us to fight hard, live bold, and believe in something bigger than ourselves. But now he's teaching us something even deeper, that in the end, peace matters more than praise. Hulk Hogan may be gone, but in the hearts of millions, the echo of Hulkamania still roars. Somewhere a kid still wears a bandana. Somewhere, a voice still repeats his famous words, and that's the kind of legacy that never dies.